At the end of the day, the fact that there is not real freedom of movement for Jamaicans, I think, is the real challenge and the real reason why reggae is suffering worldwide, and particularly here in Europe. The fact that people cannot travel unless they are paid for or invited is sickening to me. The most obvious cause or the fact is that the artists charge a lot. And that inequality is at the root, I think, of what's happened to the death of or the dying of reggae in Europe.
Yardman Podcast are the one. 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 The
Yeah, man.
Yardman Podcast. Tell
Tell 'em
about the Yardman Podcast. The Yardman Podcast. Tell about the Yardman Podcast.
Boom! Davin and Tonil back again with the number one Jamaican podcast in Murcia, Spain.
Number one Jamaican podcast in Europe.
And we're slowly getting there to conquer the world to become the number one Jamaican podcast in the world.
Right.
We will be moving towards it. We have gotten great strides this year. This year has been our best year yet. Second year of operation, not even coming to an end yet, and we're seeing great traction. Hoping that this new series that we're doing, exploring and investigating reggae music in all corners of the world, will definitely yield some result. This is just one factor, or one sector in the Yardman podcast, because you can't be Jamaican if you don't have reggae running through your veins. I don't think you can. I don't think many Jamaicans would accept you if you don't appreciate reggae. Joan's face is like, oh, let's see.
I mean, you know how much I love country and souls and everything else, but facts. We have to respect reggae.
It has to be there.
Yes.
It has to be there,
Facts.
because personally, my reggae is not my favorite genre of music. I'm an R&B and souls kind of guy, but reggae
You
is still a
understand?
part of me.
I love
And
my
I
hip
can't
hop
hide
as
that.
well and my Kenny Rogers, because that was part of my yard experience. But reggae is forever part of it. I agree, sir. D'accord, though.
I agree. So today we have a guest. As you can see, Justice Joan Nanook Webley. She is an IP attorney that has a lot of experience in the creative industry, and also something I found strange, not something that would go with a creative, I would say. I'm working in the crypto area, an NFT strategist. I don't even know if NFT is still a thing now, but I saw that in my research. That's not a part of you. But overall, I would say, to summarize Joan and her recommendation, she was recommended, I just found it, by Mercy Mercedes, one of our followers on Instagram. But Joan is a cultural activist. And when I say cultural, means that she is the person that spreads reggae, Jamaican culture globally. We are trying to do a little bit of that from time to time based on what we know. But she makes it her point of duty to, share the music, the film industry, whatever part of the Jamaican culture she can. And she's been doing that in Europe. She's lived there for over 5 years now. But we're going to approach this as we don't know anything about you, Joan. I did a lot of research, but I still don't know anything about you. Who is Joan Webley, and what is her purpose?
Deep. Thanks for the invitation, and thank you, Mercy, for telling them to contact me. And I am really interested in learning more about the both of you. I only recently became familiar with the podcast, but y'all are next door. So I'm definitely wanting to journey along with you to number one Jamaican podcast. And who I am is, first of all, Jamaican is a big part of my identity. I'm someone that's been fortunate enough to live in a few different places. I think now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, you know that saying, you're your ancestors' wildest dreams. I think that I am someone who recognizes that I have benefited from a lot of what my generations did, and so I kind of take it as my duty. If you're gonna talk about purpose, I feel really empowered by my personal family and the culture that I'm a part of. Like just yesterday, I was sharing a joke with a friend, and she was like, "Boy, that famous saying, if I woke up and I was anything other than Jamaican, I'd be so upset." And that's how I really feel. I feel very blessed and privileged to be a Jamaican. So, to to be a Jamaican and a Jamaican who is in a position of relative privilege too. So as in terms of purpose, I really see it as my purpose to do my part to make sure that we are protecting our culture. And protecting is a weird word. I want to say tributing our culture. And so tributing it means, yeah, protecting it, but more importantly, using it. Like I'm not a very why are people doing this with my thing? No, the thing is great and I love that the world loves it. I'm more about what are we doing with our thing. So in terms of purpose, I've always been someone just trying to play my part in different ways, whether it be through the law, through activities, and more recently through doing music of my own. Because like I really genuinely believe that our culture is has the capacity to definitely make Jamaica better and has been evidenced the world. So that's it in a nutshell. That's all.
Yeah. Can you walk us through your journey of how you got to this point of being in Italy?
That's a long journey. Okay, the cliffest notes. I'm really here in Italy primarily through my husband. I guess that's how I ended up in Italy. Not I guess that's why I'm in Italy. I've always worked in Jamaica, or not. I've always I worked in Jamaican music for a long time. I studied in Australia and I worked in music for years and film and the other industries as you mentioned, and um, yeah, when I had done work in Europe before, but I'd never come to Italy. It wasn't a part of my experience with reggae in Europe. I'd been to France, I'd been to Germany, I'd been to other spaces, but I hadn't been anywhere in Italy. Um, and after I met him, I met him in Jamaica, and we started corresponding, and eventually I came to visit where he lived, and I was amazed. Um, Italy, of course, is beautiful and a great culture. That's one of the things that we share in common. We both come from countries with strong cultures. But where he lives in particular, where I am in Italy, they call it the Jamaica of Italy. So how I ended up here was because it kind of felt like I didn't have to leave home, but I was able to have a wider experience of the world and have some more access, which I was looking for in after having been in Jamaica working in creative industries for a while. So that's how I ended up in Italy. I decided to get married and decided to be here. And truthfully, I go back and forth as much as I can through work projects or to visit my family. So I like to really say that I'm based in both places and spaces. I don't really left yard. It's just that I'm not there every day like one time. I still work a lot on projects in Jamaica, even from here, because I can work virtually. So I'm still daddy, even though Sonokwa.
Yeah.
As a Jamaican, moving to Italy, were there any like culture shocks that you experienced in your first few months?
First of all, I didn't make it clear, but I moved in the middle of COVID. So it was an
Oh,
interesting
okay.
time to be here. Like the
Yeah,
streets were empty. Everywhere was empty. And so it wasn't it took a lot longer for me to really get a genuine appreciation of the genuine culture, because even after COVID things took a little time to build
yeah,
back.
it was.
So yeah, it's not so much the culture shock but language. You guys are in another country as well, and I'm not sure how it is in Spain, but in Italy, especially in South Italy where I am, if you don't speak Italian, yeah, you can get by. Obviously, there's the
Yeah.
apps on your phone or whatever you can use these days, but you don't really know what's going on. I mean, they and where I live, them have their patois, Salentino. So it's deeper than that. I've learned Italian now, but then there's a whole slang as well. So the biggest culture shock I think was the language. That and it's a little patriarchal more than where Jamaica, like Jamaica, that's not really a thing. Women do everything in Jamaica. As much as we have issues with violence against women and these kinds of things, you don't really feel like any man is thinking that he's more than. And sometimes I feel like, yeah, I can encounter that here. But that's just been my experience.
More of the
Okay.
patriarchy there. Where in Jamaica did you grow up?
Kingston, I'm from town.
Yeah. We're in
Hmm.
Kingston because Kingston is a broad net.
Broadnets.
Where in Kingston?
Okay, on the actual street. I'm like near Richie B gas station.
Constant Spring Uptown area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you had a different question. I don't know because in my research I was like, are you Joan Gordon Webley's daughter? I
Yo,
was
I'm
like,
kind of like, did this dude do his research? Like,
no,
for
no,
real
no, no.
asking.
He
Like
did, he
that's what I
did.
saw. But a lot of things were like, we were like, no, it's too coincidental. Like,
Yes,
is because
true,
you're a
true.
Yeah.
lawyer as well? So I'm like,
I tell you what's funny. What's funny is when people don't realize that we're actually two different people.
It happened to
So
me the
mm,
it's
first
very
5 minutes.
yeah.
listen to me. So and actually on the phone where we sometimes can sound very similar. I've been told. So it's very interesting. I've actually had someone come to meet me thinking they were coming to meet my mom, and it's happened several times. It's very very interesting. But yes, that's my mommy.
Okay, okay. How's that growing up, and since she's heavily involved in the politics and stuff?
That's what goes back to how I introduce myself. You know how I
Mm,
see myself. I definitely am someone who I'm very grateful for my family and who they were. You know, it's a challenge sometimes because we're in a country where to be a politician is not necessarily something that people would respect or think of highly. But my personal experience, like I know who my father is, I know who my mother is, and I know what they have done in their lives or what they were able to do. And I'm proud. Like they're persons that came from really humble beginnings. My father from Spain, not Spain, Spain, but Spain,
mm,
Spanish town, Spain,
yeah.
and my mother is from country, big up Pell River, Hanover, and we're still connected to our roots to lesser degrees. But my reality is that I recognize that because of sacrifices that they made, um, I got to have the upbringing that I had. And yeah, I've worked very hard to achieve the things that I've had because unfortunately people believe that more things get given to you than are. You still have to work in life. And
True,
so,
true.
I worked hard for where I am, and sometimes I overworked or kind of did things to prove that it wasn't just because my name, Joan Webley, why this is happening. But at the end of the day, my name and my name can't change. And it's really given me a really unique perspective, I think, on Jamaica. I give thanks for it because I've been in rooms and spaces that I think the average person um, think about and don't know about. And
True.
and just by birth, not through nothing that I did, but just by birth and circumstance, I have access to places and people. And the younger me saw that as just nepotism and yo-yo, but the older me is like, so that is your blessings. Use it wisely.
Yeah.
Like
You
if you
only
have access to these things, is what you're doing with it. You know.
yeah. Use the cards that you're dealt, and definitely you should. If I become very successful, I'm not gonna tell my kids, "Hey, don't take advantage of my success to build more success for yourself as well." But your name, Nanook.
Mm.
What was that? How did you come up with Justice Joan Nanook? What's the meaning behind it?
So some of it came from, of course, trying to help people with distinguishing. The two things we just discussed, helping people distinguish between the Jones,
Hmm.
and also being able to clear a path for myself without necessarily that influence. So Nanook, it actually started as a nickname. My dad gave me that nickname as a child. And so I started my company and called it Nanook because I wanted to try to do a bunch of different things in creative industries. I was very aware of that. And I wanted a name that nobody knew what it meant. And so I could make it mean anything. And in the end, we actually, Jamaica love an acronym. So in the end, it became nurturing all nuances of one's creativity. It was a creative hub that I used to run in Kingston. I ran that hub for
Yeah.
3 years, and we did fashion, film screenings, album premieres. Jay Island had his first album launch there. We had Assassin as one of the big, like we had some really great events there. Sankofa sessions, live painting, that craze in Kingston was
Yeah.
really fed there as well in that space by Matthew McCarthy and other great creatives that came through. Vinyl Thursdays was there as well for a while. So running that creative space was great, and Nanook was the name I ran it under. So a lot of persons who didn't know my name was Joan or didn't necessarily know my mother was Joan Gordon Webley, and who I didn't necessarily want to know that, knew me as
Hmm.
Nanook. I knew the space as Nanook because I didn't want anybody to not come because them think say is a politician's daughter place, or to come
Politician.
because they think either people were supposed to come because they had a talent or they were interested in talent and creativity, and we wanted everyone to mix and develop,
Yeah. Has
But
that
I
been
know
a
it's
challenge
fate.
for you? Has that been a challenge for you to separate yourself from the political affiliation in order to get a project off the ground?
100%. 100%. It's been a chat, but it's both things. I'm not like saying woe is me. It's been a challenge, and at times it's been a blessing because I
Mhm.
have. It's like they say, fisherman's son know for catch fish. Like I understand how the system works. I understand maybe better than some persons coming in how the system is supposed to work. At least it don't always go so, of course. Um, and because I've worked in those places, sometimes in Nanook I used to say, even in Jamaica, I joked about it here in Italy, the different languages, but you know it in yard, you have to talk different languages. If you're working in
True.
creative industries, if you want to make a difference and you're trying to lobby government or trying to tell Minister Grange or whoever something, and you're trying to communicate that same message to the actual artist in a studio downtown, it's two different languages you have to speak in order to be able to communicate that. And I used to be the manager of copyright at the intellectual property office in Jamaica. That was my job. I used to have to write the law, so I drafted some of the updates to the Copyright Act. And I also used to have to go to any church or any barbecue where anybody called and answer any question that you came in and about copyright. So you have to be able to speak different languages, and I don't think it was a harm. I think it assisted me.
Yeah, I think most Jamaicans know that you have to change your language based on the room that you step into. Person for us as well. Normally we do that level of code switching. But
That's the word, code switching.
you mentioned something that a lot of Jamaicans don't know much about. That is the entire IP and copyright industry. And with social media going more and more, music becoming more, I would say, more bureaucratized or more standardized. There's more of a business aspect into it nowadays. Can you explain that to a layman? How IP is important, how copyright is important, especially to a creative, because sometimes a creative doesn't care about that. They just want to put out their work and that's it. They don't want to deal with that. How do you
Okay.
explain the importance of IP and copyright and stuff like that?
Davin, the simplest way at the start, you said, "Oh, Joan, I see you involved in film and music and fashion and the metaverse and NFTs and all of that." I'm involved in all of that because of intellectual property. Intellectual property is the single thread that stitches every single creative industry together. So anyone that wants to be a creator yourselves are creating intellectual property. Anyone using intellectual property. So for a country like Jamaica that claims it wants to be a cultural super state, or that is a cultural super state, I feel like every Jamaican should learn about intellectual property like we learn about our ABCs. Like it should be ABC 1 2 3 IP.
Hmm.
You get me? It should be
Yeah.
you need to know the difference between copyright, trademark, patents. Full stop. There's more to it, but you can leave it as simple as that. Know what copyright is, know what trademarks is, know what patents is. And I believe that on it, if I had my way, that should be throughout our entire educational system because creativity and culture is our oil. That is what we have in abundance, springing forward and flowing from generation to generation. And intellectual property is how you refine that and how you use that and get maximum benefit. You know.
Can you explain those three things to a layman? What copyright is, what is a patent, and what was the other one?
And
Like
trademark.
trademark.
And trademark.
'Cause
Thank
I
you.
learned these things
Thank
in
you,
UA. I
Samir.
learned these things over UA, but now them gone. Like I know what
Guys,
a
so schools
patent
get
is if I have
introduced.
an invention, but can you
And
explain
that's
them
becoming
to
a
a
free
layman?
class. All right. Thankfully, I have done my 10,000 hours, so I could do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
And it's really that's important that everyone knows. So, copyright, trademark, patents. Most simply, if you remember nothing else, when you think about if you're doing something with creativity, then you know right away you need copyright. If you're doing something with branding, then right away you need to know about trademarks. And if you're doing anything that's an invention or an innovation, then that's when you need to know about patents. So those are the three main areas and the three main reasons why you need to resort to these three tools because that's what they are. They're tools for you to use. And what they allow you to do is make money from and manage what you create. So again, when it comes to copyright, I already said creativity. Oh my gosh, this could turn into a whole lecture. How do I really make this shorten for you? But when it comes to
Think
let me
about
tell you two things
explain it
maybe.
to a 12-year-old. I'm a 12-year-old,
Two
and you're explaining it to me.
to a 12-year-old. Okay. So, intellectual property is how you benefit from your creativity and from what you are able to materialize in the world. Anything that you're able to innovate, that you can benefit from that. And intellectual property allows you to benefit in perpetuity for a very long time, and can allow you, not just you but also your family, to benefit from it. All you need to do is understand what the rights actually are when you create something. Usually, if you're able to, you want to register those rights. So the first thing after you're creating something or you're branding something or you've invented something, you want to figure out how you can register that right, if possible, because you want to be able to have proof that you're the owner of that thing that you've created. And then once you have that proof, it's on that basis that you're able to make money from it. And how you make money from it is authorizing how other people can use what you've created. That's the most simplest way to explain the whole thing. So that's with copyright. With branding, it's your reputation, it's your trademark, mark of trade. So anytime you're using your business, you want to register that. And then patents, innovation. Guys, I could very easily go into this for a very, very long time, because the truth of it is there's a danger to it. I don't want to overly simplify. It's like, when you get in a car and there's three pedals, and it's just like, oh yeah, man, but a pedal is a part of a car. Yeah, man, we know that. But they do very different things. You know what I mean? And so while it's not complicated, enough people can drive stick shift and use those pedals. It is important for you to understand the subtle differences between those pedals. So, for example, copyright, you don't need to register it. It's a human right. There's no financial barrier. Once you have created something, taken it out of your mind and put it into real form, you own property. And I think that's what makes me very passionate about intellectual property, because I just love how it's such a level playing field. You don't need to be born rich or poor or in between. You just need to actually make effort and take something from a thought and materialize it, and you're now a property owner. That to me is
Oh,
mind blowing.
okay. So,
Okay.
all right, let me see if I'm getting this,
Keep
and
going, I'll stop.
bear with me while I try to run it through my mind. Say, for example, I take up my phone and I record a selfie video of me singing a song with my own lyrics, and I put that up on TikTok. That is now mine, and I can go and copyright that, right?
Absolutely.
And if I and
As a
if I
matter of
give
fact, you already own copyright in it. From the minute you've created it, you own copyright. But if you
so
decide no, you want to make money from it, you should really go and register it, because that's going to help you prove that you're owning it. That's all. You just need proof to help you make your money.
okay, so I should go and register it, and then if I trademark it, then let's say I call my saying Devane, David, or Devane the man. I can trademark my name and get like my logos and every merch and stuff that I get sold from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is
Mm-hmm.
all mine. And the patent
That's my
is,
brand, right?
yeah. And when it goes to the patent now, is if I create, let's go back to your car analogy. If I create a new kind of transmission and invent it for the car, then I can get a patent from that. But what a lot of Jamaicans don't know is, where do I go to do this?
All at the same place I work, Jamaica Intellectual Property Office. So intellectual property are national rights. They are internationally, they're homogenous is the word we call. There's a World Intellectual Property Organization that all of the
Mhm,
national offices report to. And so
mhm.
there's everything is kind of synchronized, because if you think about how we use intellectual property now, you can't have things be too much different around the world, because we're all using things globally right now. You stay where you are in Spain and you access content that is owned by somebody in Germany, or intellectual property is used so internationally that there's a lot of what they call international treaties that countries sign up to and agree to have these basic or minimum principles for intellectual property law. And so,
Nice.
sorry, to answer your short question, that question in short, each person goes to their national IP office. So in Jamaica, you go to the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office in the Jampro building downstairs with the most wonderful staff, and they will help you through everything and answer any question. And there's a library, and it's never full.
Okay. One last question on this topic of IP. AI. I recently saw that one of the Nordic countries, either Norway or Denmark,
Denmark.
basically gave all their citizens intellectual properties towards their themselves. So that if
Yes.
an AI company comes out and use my voice and I'm a Denmark
Face,
citizen,
image, and
that means I
likeness.
have, yeah. they have plagiarized me, or they've stolen from me. Is that
Yeah.
something that would be possible in Jamaica?
Not is it something that would be possible in Jamaica, it's something that's inevitable. Not just in
Okay.
Jamaica, but across the world. And that's the connection that most persons miss. I'm really happy you asked the question. Intellectual property and technology are inextricably linked. So intellectual property was almost created as a result of a technological advancement. When the Industrial Revolution occurred and the printing press was invented, that's when the first intellectual property law was created, the Berne Convention. I'm just saying that to say each time there's a big technological change, the law has to respond. So Napster, when dubbing of things went online and you could just download all of the songs, the law had to intellectual property law had to change again to keep up with that. Now,
Mhm.
when it comes to the metaverse and AI and all of these stuff that's happening, intellectual property law is going to have to respond. It's going to have to create these new rights and new protections for people under the law. So it was interesting. Denmark made this change, and a lot of people started messaging me going, "Oh, I'm going to do this in Jamaica." No, and again, I had to remind them that it's intellectual property is a national thing. So Danish citizens are able to access this now in Denmark. I don't know that Jamaicans are able to access it as yet.
Okay. And the boom of TikTokers, they definitely need to get some intellectual property representations, especially as it comes to that. I would recommend that for them as well. And for us, eventually we'll get to a point where we need a Joan on our site. People using our
Let me,
content as well.
if I can use your platform or use this moment to just say how this change happens, so everybody knows that you guys, everybody who is affected by this, needs to contact JIPO, that same office that I said, and say
Mhm.
this is a problem, this is an issue for us, the Jamaican people, and we want a change in the law. That's how the law gets changed. Because a lot of people, again, if you're not a politician's daughter, maybe you don't know this, or if you're not an attorney, maybe you don't know this. I may not say it's such a rare thing, whatever. Um, but from my experiences, I understand that how you really get movement is persons have to write in, persons have to start doing videos. It has to become viral. It has to be something that's spoken about in Jamaica, and that's how the law and policymakers respond. It's like, oh, this is a national issue for real, and then the process
Mhm.
starts. But it's a long process. We're probably 2 or 3 years away from it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because for me personally, with the upsurge in social media and TikTok and people making money from it in Jamaica, I feel like the laws are way behind and it's not as easy. One thing especially for this is to put the TikTokers on the tax side of it. I think a lot of them aren't even paying taxes. They're just pulling down that money and that's it at the end of the day. But I'm sure there are things in place for that, legislative wise, if they're earning a certain amount of money to handle that stuff. But to go ahead.
So a really small comment on that. I think less concerned about their tax. I'm more concerned about the fact that Jamaican creatives have not been facilitated good enough in terms of being able
Mhm.
to access e-commerce. So the fact that it's still such a challenge to be able to use PayPal from Jamaica, or the fact that it's still not the simplest thing to access certain channels of payment. So, for example, transfers that happen on phones so easily internationally still can't happen for us in Jamaica. Um, you end up with things like backdoor and persons making money in a way that's not being accounted for when you don't facilitate your people to be able to do it the right way. That's all.
But I have seen some progress in that where, or I think we came off a list for anti-money laundering,
A
and I
watch
think
list,
we have
yeah.
been make a watch list. So once we're on that watch list, a lot of these companies they don't want to be dealing with that. They don't want to deal with the KYC aspects of it, and it's kind of
Hmm.
hard, especially with we're not helping ourselves with the scamming as well. I would say that stuff kind
There
of
is that
keeps us
reality.
on. Yeah,
There is
there's
that
that
reality.
reality. We're
But
not
why
helping
can't
ourselves.
we use PayPal? I would really love to get to the root of understanding why it's such a roundabout, difficult thing to utilize. And I keep sticking on PayPal just because that's what most e-commerce kind of hinged on. Well, back in the day, at least,
Mm.
maybe not so much anymore.
For me, it's the KYC aspect of it because I use PayPal and I had an incident where I was transferring a certain amount of money back home and they were like, "Oh, you've sent too much money. Like, why are you sending so much money to Jamaica in a few months?" And they held the money in transit for weeks because they're like, "Oh, is this a part of lottery scamming? Where
Suspicious.
is the money coming from?" And I had to Exactly. I had to show my bank statements, show my pay slips and everything to get even the money back into my account because it was flagged.
And it's your own
So
money.
it's an issue. It's my money, and I had to show how I earned the money, where the money is going to who, and they had to show their evidence
My
of collecting the
God.
money as well, and what's the purpose of the money. So they make it difficult, but I kind of understand it because there are also a lot of Jamaicans and a lot of international people who are vulnerable to it. Most recently, a family member of mine contacted me and said, "Hey, some guy messaged me on WhatsApp saying that I want a new Tesla, and Elon Musk is going to send me this Tesla, but I need to buy a gift card to send him, and I need to use PayPal to do it." So imagine if this family member of mine had access to PayPal. They called me asking me to do it. They would have done it. I
Unfortunately,
lost the money.
that Elon pick him out of everybody.
Yeah, pick him and you want a Tesla.
Wow.
And I had to be like, why would Elon pick you to win a Tesla?
Wow.
And he's like, you're the one that's going to get the money. We're going to get the Tesla and sell it.
Yeah,
And
because you can't drive Tesla
Elon,
in Jamaica easy. I don't think it makes sense. Sell the
but
Tesla.
the scammers be scamming. But on the
Madly.
creative side, your creative and production film industry, you created the official guide to filming in Jamaica. What has been the impact of that on the Jamaican film industry?
Um, I don't know. I hope the impact of that has been an increase in projects or an increase in productions or productivity. I hope that it's played a part in that. Let me say that. What is true is that in the last 5 years, or perhaps more, you've seen a rise in the Jamaican film industry in general. And I'm talking about more professional organizations, JAFTA becoming way more productive and proactive, Women in Film and Television Jamaica. The guide to filming in Jamaica, I was actually commissioned to do that by the film commissioner at the time, who was Renee Robinson. She was film commissioner at Jampro, and the project had been begun by someone else and they couldn't complete it, and she approached me to complete the project. So myself and a team of writers, Leslie Ann Welsh, and others who participated on the project, the cover design, Station Daily. And I'm mentioning names because it really was a labor of love. The payment was very little for what the work was, but we all knew that we were creating something that was super necessary. There had never been a guide to filming in Jamaica, and it's not a simple process from permits to licensing to importation and taxes and all of these different things that you need to navigate as a first time filmmaker. Um, yeah, we thought it was a really important work, and the fact is that there has been an increase in productivity in Jamaican film and television. I don't know if that's all because of the guide, but I'm sure that it played its part for sure.
I have a question about Nanook. When you used
Mm.
to be with Nanook, the demographic of people that you would see, would it be mostly musicians, actors, people in creative arts?
Oh, definitely creative arts, 100%. I
Mm-hmm.
think the demographic was interesting because the beautiful thing we're able to create with Nanook was everybody who came kind of felt like it was them alone that came. So occasionally you had crossings, but at one point, as I mentioned, Nanook is a name that I used to try many different things. So at one point we were a co-working hub. This was before the word co-working was even a thing. So we had a lot of application developers that used the space. And then they would end up staying on for the jam sessions in the night, because on Thursdays now we became the jam spot. And so all the musicians who were off tour would come and jam there. But then Vinyl Thursdays started, so they were then bringing more of the reggae crowd and the European tourist crowd. Then we'd occasionally have rock nights. So I don't know if you're aware of the vibrant rock and roll scene in Kingston, but
Rock
we'd
and
we'd have
rolling
nights
Kingston.
we'd have nights with downstairs, and
Wow.
I shouldn't have started. There's so many incredible bands that came through, and that is one of the things I guess that really excites me about intellectual property, about what my purpose is, that there's so much talent in Jamaica. um yeah, so and then we had artisanals, because we used to have, at the events, we'd set up booths so persons could come in if they were painters or they were craftsmen that made different items for sale. So it was a really varied community. But yes, definitely centered all around the arts, filmmaking, fashion, and anyone who was interested in that.
Okay, and last question about IP before we move on. Like the people that you would traverse with in the Nanook space, right? Was IP a common knowledge amongst them? Or did you have to do, for example, like workshops to teach people about IP and to be more aware about these kind of things?
I think it's always something you have to keep doing. Workshops
Hmm.
about intellectual property. It's always going to be new for someone.
Okay.
And the law is just like that. It's the rules are one thing, but then how do you apply them? So that's why you always have an attorney, or that's why you go to speak. I often say to persons, why you should get an IP attorney when you're doing something in the creative arts, even if you're super smart, is because yes, you can read the contract and maybe you read and you understand what's there, and that's great. But the IP attorney understands what's missing from that contract that you may not have even considered, because this isn't the type of work that you do often. Um, so I say it to say, like, that's what I enjoy. The I don't really enjoy music law, if I'm honest. I really enjoy film law because I think it's a lot more creative to figure out how you use the intellectual property. It's a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
And that's the thing of it. Yeah,
Okay.
there'll always be someone to explain it to. Sorry, don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, you did actually. And I have one last question about this because as you know, for example, back in the like the early 2000s, when Jamaica had like a big film industry with a lot of plays and all of these people, Oliver Samuels, Camille Davis, all of these people. In that era, I believe that copyright did not exist because I used to watch these plays and I didn't have to go to a play. My mom used to carry me to them, but I go
Get
downtown and there's a man selling the disc with the play and no copyright, no IP, no. There was nothing basically. There's no
it
form.
was the same thing that you were saying.
copy wrong.
Here is where the copyright
Yes.
is in the writing down of the thing and creating the material that is the place, the energy and the effort. So yeah, copyright doesn't judge the level of creativity, which I guess is what
Hmm.
you're alluding to, because there's some creative things that are groundbreaking and it really just shift how you think. There's some art that just really make you think about things differently. I remember the first time I heard Chronic Smile Jamaica, like, and I'm just calling it because it came to my mind first, but it was one of those songs when I was like, yo, that song ya changed life. Like, this is a different piece of art. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Not everything is that. So yeah, the copyright doesn't try to subjectively say is this creative or not. You created it, you own it. What you're going to do with it? What you going to do with it? That's my main thing. What Jamaica do with our culture?
Okay. If I
Okay,
was going to make
lovely.
a film in Jamaica, what do I need to know?
Oh,
Like
come on, Gavin.
as an
That's like asking me to
international.
explain intellectual property to a 12-year
No,
old,
no, no.
okay?
I mean, like, no, no, not from an intellectual property thing. What makes it
Right.
interesting for an international conglomerate to say, you know what, I'm going to film in Jamaica versus going to film in the Bahamas or any other place because I just want my film to be on a beach? But why would they pick Jamaica over other countries to film their movies?
For
Wow.
example, why would James Wan pick Jamaica and not
Yeah,
Barbados?
yeah,
I mean, okay, so the simple thing. I mean, it might seem cliched, but location, location, location. I have lived in a few other Caribbean countries, and in terms of the diversity that Jamaica offers you, for in one location, not every island has that. In terms of our beaches, then there's the mountain, then you can have a really corporate setting. There's a variety of settings that you could have in the one space. So I think that's a
mhm,
draw. And then the biggest draw is going to be our people. It's a bit of a challenge because, to be honest, we need more crew, we need more trained technical staff. I think last year, with the success of the industry, literally every person who could be employed was employed in the film industry at one point. So if another production had tried to come to Jamaica, they wouldn't have been able to find people to work on it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because we don't have that many costume designers. We don't have that many set designers. We don't have that many of every category of person that's needed to make a film. But who we do have are very skilled.
Okay.
You know, but whether it's because of in our usual turn hand make fashion kind of way, we know how to be resourceful, we know how to be ingenious and creative. And so I'm told, I don't have the most experience working in film sets on Jamaica, but I'm told that we're a good crew to work with.
Okay.
So at the end of the
So
day, it's who you're working with, I guess, you know?
yeah. So the talent. What about logistics wise?
Meaning, as in, do we have all of what we need? Or can
How
you
is
ask the
it to
question again?
like the logistic aspects of it? I'm a global film company. I'm gonna shoot a new James Bond movie in Jamaica, but Jamaica doesn't have the equipment I need. How do I get all the equipment? How do I get all my people there? How do I get from one
Okay.
location to the next? How do I ensure that I'm following all the rules and regulations of the country?
Well, it would be various ways depending on whether or not you're doing this as a wholly independent international production or if you've chosen to go the route of a co production. So you're working with a Jamaican entity. That could vary the ways in which you approach this. But there's also some incentives or there's permits in which you're able to bring in certain equipment as long as the equipment is not staying on the island and it's going back out, then you're not needing to pay duty for it.
Okay.
So some persons actually importing some of the technical equipment that they need, and that was back in the day. I don't know that this takes place so much anymore, um, but I know that that was a workaround that was implemented for the industry. I would say more towards the early 2000s, if I'm correct, where persons could bring in material that they in equipment that they needed for use, and then if they were once they proved they were taking it back out and it was taken back out, they didn't have to pay as much tax. And really, when you're structuring a film and choosing location, you're trying to find where you can get the best tax rebates. That's what the production company is looking for. One other thing that's interesting about our film industry is that Jamaica is the only one in the Caribbean that has a co-production agreement with the UK. And what that
Mm.
means is that, and the UK has also said that they're not going to negotiate any other agreements with any other Caribbean countries. That other Caribbean countries, if they want to access co-productions with UK, need to come through Jamaica. And that might be a lot of words for somebody who's not in film industry, but essentially what it means is that Jamaica is in a great position when it comes to being able to partner with UK producers and be able to access financing from UK film funds. And other Caribbean nationals need to kind of work through Jamaica to access that in that same way.
Okay, so it's highly Jamaica is a highly sought after place for the destination for movies. So people, if you have a movie in Jamaica, you need an actor. Tonyil wanted to play Bob Marley in the One Love movie, but they didn't pick him. They didn't pick him. But hopefully for part two, you will get a
I'll be
part in it.
considered.
Yeah.
Well, can I say something? You joke about it, but the Bob Marley movie, whether you liked it or not, whether you thought it was true to story or not, it was one of the greatest things to happen for our film industry. And it's the one thing I wanted to say about our film. The best thing about our film industry is all the stories that are yet to be told. We have
Yes.
an industry that is ripe in terms of material. And the Bob Marley film showed us it have an international appeal that we can speak patois and still make millions at box office.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that on the back of that you're gonna be seeing the Garvey, but and the Paul Bogle and the Kojo
Nani.
and the others and the Nanny and the other stories coming forward. I just saw there's a Jamaican anime, Jamakai.
Woo!
Yeah,
Jamaica,
that
I love
I'm a big
Jamaica.
anime
Yes.
I'm
fan.
excited.
Me
Yeah,
too.
those things really excite me because I
Mm.
prefer film over music. Tony, though he's always getting on me for that because I prefer film over music. So I
Yeah.
love that, and it pisses me off when I'm watching, let's say, a Marvel movie and they use a Jamaican story in it that I've learned as a Jamaican, and we don't even get any credit for it. It
Yeah.
pisses me off so
And you
much.
see it.
And then
So
I
so I mentioned the application developers, I mentioned the different music groups, but shout out to the Jamaica Design Association and shout out to the Jamaica Animation Nation Network, who were also members of the Nanook community. They used to have their monthly meetings at Nanook as well. So the animators and their journey in Jamaica, it's been really cool to watch how that community has grown and now to the level where they're having members of their community with a result like this. You know what I mean? How many years have we heard them talking about? Wouldn't it be cool, as you said, to have a Jamaican anime or to see the Jamaican comic and to see the starts of it? Is cool.
Yeah, for sure. But
And
on the
Okay.
music, oh Tony, you were saying?
yes, can we go to Sangster Airport now and board a flight? Yes, I want to board a flight. I want to all the way to Italy right now.
Uh-huh. One
Right?
plane. One
One plane, just
plane.
one plane from Sangster,
Sleep
right to
and
Italy,
reach.
right to Lecce.
Sleep and reach. You can do it
Yes.
easier than
So
from Kingston, actually. You go Sangster and you take one plane from Mobile reach right to Milan.
yeah, Sangster
Yeah.
is usually open to all of these places. So I want to
Mm-hmm. On
know,
the beat
like,
now, man, Manly.
getting to Italy, right?
Yeah.
Are there any spaces where people can go to enjoy reggae, exclusively reggae, and not reggae and Afro, for example?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I live in the Jamaica of Italy. So, and they
Yes.
call it that for a number of reasons. But largely also because there's a group called Sud Sound System that is huge over here in Italy. And boy, you have a lot of, anyway, they're huge over here in Italy. And they're every night, every week, there's parties that are happening here, be it in dancehall or reggae. And to be honest, you don't hear too much Afrobeats. I'd say most of them you don't hear any Afrobeats. It's really newer dancehall that you're hearing. Some dub parties of there's a lot of dub sessions as well, so you just hearing strictly dub music through the night. Um, but Italy, what I was alluding to before, Italy is a very interesting place because of the language. They
Hmm.
really have a lot of stuff that's just their own culture and their own thing. So reggae music, I mean, yes, they love Jamaican artists, but of late, what I come to understand, everybody speaks about how it used to be, but I don't see a lot of Jamaican artists here now. It's not like that anymore. Apparently, back in the day, you used to have enough more people coming through. But the truth is that the demand isn't here. People aren't paying the certain number of ticket prices, so the numbers of concerts have just gotten a lot less, in this region at least.
Even you have so you've even seen a decline in the 5 years that you have been there.
No, no, not since I've been here. It's just been low.
Mm.
I is
Ah,
only
okay,
what
okay,
I hear
okay.
them talk about. So I hear them speak about when Beanie Man came and when TOK them used to come through and Morgan Heritage and Marcia Griffiths, and so it seemed like it was actually a really vibrant route, and this city was part of that route. Now I think last year Julian Marley came through. This year I actually did a show with Queen Ifrica a couple months ago, and Anthony B has been here and is coming back in August. So Anthony B is loved over here. Um,
I think everywhere. Everybody speaks good about Anthony B. Everywhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. His message it's always last, but on a whole, it's what is reflected all over Europe. Just festivals being cancelled or less artists coming through.
Yeah.
What do you think is the cause for that?
A couple of things. Okay, so the most obvious cost or the fact is that the artists charge a lot. The artists charge rates that for promoters over here is a challenge to cover. Because European markets, and you have to understand, European markets are different from American markets, are different from Japanese markets, are different from South American markets. You guys are over here, so you know what I'm saying in terms of disposable income and what people normally spend on tickets. Like, it's not reggae, but just a couple weeks ago they canceled a concert with 50 Cent over here, and the ticket price for that was 20 euros.
What? 50
So
Cent?
That's why they canceled it.
so I just making say,
Yeah.
so when a big Jamaican artist now want to say I need however many tens of thousands, and then you have to have their ticket, and you have to do their ticket for entourage maybe, and you need to put up hotels, and nobody over here is gonna pay more than $20 for your ticket. How does it make sense? Like you just can't afford to do it. And I think in the past, there are things we can't talk about, unfortunately. In the past, people were doing stuff that maybe didn't make sense. Maybe it didn't make financial sense, but they were able to do it because they got money coming from somewhere else. Maybe they had sponsors or whatever that could cover it.
So
Okay.
so it seems like the argument when it comes down to most of Europe, I can say, because I've heard from a lot of people, I would say over here, there's this nostalgia for what reggae used to be. Always this nostalgia. People talking about artists from back in the days when they used to came, all of these things. Is there a way that we can, or is there a way that you are doing something to help cure this nostalgia that people have, especially where you are,
Yes.
for example?
Yeah. 100%. It was about 2 years ago. I was at a party here, a heavy hammer event, and they're a big Italian sound. They got world clashes and stuff. Um, and Selector's doing him thing, and I'm watching the crowd, and it was some deep dancehall. It was like new Valiant, new whatever. And no disrespect, I still love dancehall. I mean, I know say some of it is super out there for me, but I can still appreciate dancehall music. But I remember being there, and it hit me. I was like, I really hope these youths don't think that this is what Jamaican culture is. Because there was a lot of kids in the dance, and they really don't understand. You have to remember I said most of them don't speak English, so when they're hearing when they're reacting to the music, it's from a visceral level, or it's just what them feel or what them
The
see.
beat and the
Is the
melody.
beat or what them see on the video. Them don't really
And
know
the
what the
dance
song is
moves.
saying. Truly. Exactly. So, I heard my guy from Australia say sometimes I'm even more wild than in yard because it's a little out of context. You know what I mean? It's like you imitating something without truly understanding what it is. So without that context, um I just don't want that to be Jamaica's legacy to the world. That hypersexualized part of it. We grow with the bigger part of Jamaican culture. We understand the place and space for dancehall. I don't want that. I don't want that to be perceived as what Jamaican culture is because it's more than just that. So in my space, we started last year. I started an event called Jam It because that's what I know how to do. I am about using the culture. I think it's the best thing to do. So we started an event. Myself, my husband, and I found some other Jamaicans living close by, one and few, and we started an event, mirroring emancipation. So we do Jamaican emancipation in Europe, first
Nice.
week of August. We start and we're there from the 1st to the 7th, and we got you actually. It's not finalized, but this is our calendar for this year that we're just finalizing up now. We have a Jamaica house where we do an exhibition and we do film screenings, we do lectures on the culture, whatever, look at Jamaican food. And then concerts. Anthony B going to be here, and we kind of do it like how we do Reggae Month in Jamaica. You know how there was a whole
Okay.
calendar, and some
Yeah, yeah,
events
yeah.
are national, some is private people do them events, and we come
True.
together. So that's
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
work with the local promoters who are already there doing them thing, and we come together and celebrate Jamaica in this week in a bigger sense. And it's already building. Like I feel this year I wasn't even sure I was gonna do it, to be honest. I was gonna do it every other year, but the community asked for it, and I see where last year for the first time we start sell little saltfish fritters, and I serve,
Wow.
rice and peas and jerk chicken cups,
They're
and
a
I do a
chicken.
rasta pasta. And this year already one venue has started serving saltfish fritters because
Nice.
they eat bacala over here. So it's like you introduce them
Yeah.
to something, and there is a wider interest, and I'm happy now because now I can get fritters. That's something that that never used to happen over here before. So I made my mark on Salento.
Yeah. When it
But
when it when it
sorry,
comes
that's what we can do. The use our culture.
Yeah. When it comes to the reggae part of it, but Italy, I'm surprised by Italy because Italy has a reggae ambassador, Alba Rosi. What has his impact been on the reggae culture in Italy and Europe on a whole?
I think he too is realizing this same thing that we're all saying, that there needs to be a watering of the roots. So it's weird. Obviously, Jamaica is the root, but in this little sapling that was growing over here in Europe, is like it needs some fertilizer, or it needs some attention and
Yeah, man.
energy. Because in the last couple of years, I've seen him come back to this. He's not from this region, but even he has come down to this region and started holding a public concert. Because I think he recognizes the need to really reintroduce it to a younger crowd. Because the younger crowd, the next generation don't necessarily have the same affinity for reggae, and so
Love it for dancehall.
um exactly. So I've seen where he's come and been doing some stuff.
Have you ever been across the name Mellow Mood?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Mellow Mood. So Mellow Mood used to
The
come to Nanook.
twins.
Mellow Mood used
Ah,
to
they used
come
to
to
come.
Nanook when I had my club in Jamaica. That's how world is small. And this
Interesting.
was before I'd ever come to Italy. They were the first kind of Italian reggae people I had any awareness of. Because they used to come
Yeah.
down and link with a guy named Irish Soldier from Spain,
Yes.
who also used
The-
to come to Nanook a lot back
yeah.
in the day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man. So it was a
Wow.
it was small but big community. So Mellow
True.
Mood is all the way up in. They come from the north as well. I am. We are south. We are beach. We are warm. We are down here.
Okay.
Because Italy is huge, and so that's one thing I wanted to say. The scene is different in different spaces, and there is more activity in reggae and dancehall in Rome and Milan and Bologna, those northern states, which are just bigger cities in general. More people, more a possibility to find reggae and dancehall lovers. But even up there, festivals are being cancelled. Like it's there's need for some energy.
Okay. What do you think the artists? What role do the artists play in all of this in the growth of reggae music? What should they be doing differently?
I don't blame the artist. I'm hoping that you ask me who I blame, so I can start to
No, no,
speak
no.
about
I'm,
what the
I'm
problem is.
next. My next question would have been for the other stakeholders in the industry. I'm not blaming them, but I want to see what role
No,
the
I know you're
artists
not
play.
blaming. No, not blame. Let me see. Yeah, definitely artists have a role to play. I think, yeah, definitely artists have a role to play. I think there's some lack of reality for what costs are. Um, and maybe they can begin to become more inventive, or perhaps they can start to do more of their own shows overseas. I like that trend that is happening in the US. Maybe that could extend over here in Europe, so we could see Beanie coming and doing his own show in Europe, and seeing persons coming and staging their own events. That's another take on it. Just to go back into politics, we do have a free trade agreement between Europe and the Caribbean, which means that Caribbean creative businesses should be able to access the same things and be treated for tax purposes like European countries. But that's
In
another
theory.
road I will go
Wow.
down. Now, if you want to ask me who I blame, are we there?
Yeah, who do you blame? Go tell me.
Yeah, give
Tell us,
us, give us,
tell us.
tell us,
Get it
blame
off your
somebody.
chest. Who do you
the
blame
same
for
the
the
same people who aren't putting that other theory into practice, or who aren't doing enough to advance that theory in my mind, which is dun, dun, dun,
Ah.
dun, or government.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the fact that there is not real freedom of movement for Jamaicans, I think, is the real challenge and the real reason why reggae is suffering worldwide, and particularly
I
here
think
in
so.
Europe. The fact that people cannot travel unless they are paid for or invited is sickening to me. I find it
Yeah.
super offensive. The fact that an 18-year-old over here can work and save their money and get on a plane and go and work with a living legend like Earl Chinna Smith, um, without any interruption or any bit of their purpose in life being interrupted. And the fact that Jamaicans can't do that. An 18-year-old Jamaican cannot just work and earn his money and come and take a flight to Europe and try and gain a fan base for his products. That cannot happen. And that inequality is at the root, I think, of what's happened to the death of, or the dying of, reggae in Europe. The fact that our people cannot travel unless they are invited, um, is an issue. And of course, that's an oversimplification of the issue, but you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying.
Yeah, because to change the entire visa processes to get the freedom of movement, that's it's not
It's
something that I
political, yeah.
think would be easy.
No, but you understand, for a young person to get over here, they either need to have land, or they need to have a significant amount of money in their bank account, or they
Yeah.
need to have a job letter of how many years,
Yeah.
or they need to be invited. It's not going to happen. And why I'm
Ah,
mentioning it is because our country has a population of how much, and half of it is the talent.
Yeah.
So the internet is there, great, and everybody can put their stuff on the internet, but everybody puts their stuff on the internet. That's the point, is crowded.
it's
There's a
vast.
difference between you being able to get out there and get in front of people with your talent, to be able to connect and to leave a lasting impression and make and build a fan base. And we're not getting the opportunity to do that.
Okay. So the government should basically
We
the
need to
visa and
lobby.
the yeah, I would say for me, I would say the first step would be to create a hub here if they can create some partnerships with even one country here that is central. I would say probably Italy or Spain, because the cost of living is not far off from Jamaica. where the people can come here and the money will go a lot further. But create some programs here where kids can come
For
explore for even
development,
for development
exactly.
even 3 months. Because once you're in one EU country, you're in all EU countries because you can freely move from one to one.
In the Shenzhen zone.
Now,
Yeah.
how much audience have you accessed in that one trip as a new talent that is trying to go out there and make it in the business? How much
Basically,
Yeah.
greater is your possibility of success?
Yeah. And I don't see why that's so hard to set up something like that. Like
It's
if you're
ridiculous.
Jamaica, you should have you have an ambassador to Spain. It shouldn't be that hard to set up in a city to set up a little reggae workshop where that's your focal point. You want to do reggae, you bring the Jamaicans here, you have
This
some
is the hub.
exchange programs, you have some cultural
Thank
exchange
you.
programs. Those
I'm
things,
working.
those things,
We're
those things
working
should be
towards it.
there.
And that is the thing. Where is the accounting for it? And so I mentioned our government, but that's a loose thing, you know. And I'm not trying to make it any p. It's not a colorful thing. What I'm literally saying is like the mechanisms, how that happens for the artists is that our Minister of Culture and our Minister of Foreign Affairs, whoever that is, need to be making a concentrated effort to be lobbying or to arrange this kind of situation on behalf of the creative industry. Individuals, I mean, you can do things to a certain extent, but the kind of shift that we want to see is better impacted or negotiated on a governmental level.
Do you know how difficult it is to get a creative work permit here? Like to be as an artist to get a work permit for Europe? Do you know how difficult it is?
I do not know how difficult it is. I know how difficult they make it even just to invite someone, and they're actually adding barriers instead of removing it. So it used to be that when you invited someone, you just write the letter and say, yes, I'm going to invite and I will cover their expenses when they come. But now you need to show them your bank account and show them how many funds you have to take care of that person when they come. And then now they say that you need to purchase insurance to show that you can
Mm.
take care of that person when it comes to they're adding more barriers for you to be able to bring persons. And that's not the direction we should be going.
A EU visa is a lot harder to get than a US
yeah.
visa because a US
And then
visa you don't
you
have to
get the
show as
US
much.
visa and they give you for 5 years, they give you for 10 years, they give you for three. You get the Schengen visa for 5 weeks,
No,
for
no,
13
you get
90
for
days.
no, not 90 days. You get it. You have to say your proof of your trip, so you have to have a trip, and then you get 30 days after your trip expires, just in case you want to move.
if
Sometimes,
you're
depending on
lucky. They
yeah.
don't always give you those 30 days. I've in the past, before I have my residence permit now, but in the past I've gotten a Schengen visa. I had a trip for 12 days. They gave me a 14-day visa.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah,
So
man.
even if they change my mind, I needed to go back to my yard. You
Yeah.
understand? This is not your place, and
Mm,
it's not about needing to be in somebody else's space, but it's understanding what that does from going back to an industry now. It's not about me wanting to be in your place because I don't like my place. No. As an industry, it's about me wanting to have equal access to markets. It's about me wanting to have equal access to development and resources. And that comes from travel.
okay, okay.
I have a question for you. It might be a little off topic, but you said something about this earlier. I want to ask you, do you believe that we Jamaicans should be gatekeepers of our culture? When I say gatekeepers, I don't mean that, we don't let anybody in, but we should be the one who basically decides what gets into our industries, for example, or what gets to be said when it comes to like dancers,
I
for
think,
example.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, and
You
it's
know
a
what I
tricky
mean? Yeah.
question. It's a tricky question because, again, my husband is somebody who love Jamaica and love Jamaican culture. Um, he's very Italian. Don't get me wrong, and I look forward to you guys coming and visiting, and he will cook you a mad meal. He's very and that's what, and I love that part of him as well. But sometimes it's weird to me. There have been instances when I feel like he's speaking and trying to be or being an authority on Jamaica, because really, when it comes to certain records, he used to own a record store as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, there are certain things he's gonna know more than me about every album and who created what. But I am the Jamaican. I am the one that has the lived experience of what
Yes.
that means, the good, the bad, and the indifferent of
Yeah.
that. Um, So yeah, nobody else can tell me more. And whether I speak Pato or not, no one else other than a Jamaican, I think, um, has the right to speak on behalf of Jamaicans. And of course, we're very varied people, so even we shouldn't try it. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely my thing though, I keep going back to, and I just want to raise the point. As much as I think Jamaicans obviously should have the authority, the point is, if you are not doing something with your culture, what you vex about what other people doing? Like, what are you doing with your culture? And from your doing your thing, then you don't really have time to worry about what anybody else is doing or not doing. People are usually just talking when they're not doing enough.
A small follow-up question, like because as you know, everywhere in the world you go, I'm sure you see it in Italy too. You see shops with the name Jamaica on it, and they have nothing to do with Jamaica. Music claiming artists claiming to be Jamaican and not Jamaican, and all of these things. Like I said,
Jamaica
this to say
coffee.
this to ask you because, like, I want to know if you believe that one day Jamaica will actually see its true potential and have a big basket so that the small stones they don't get away from us when it comes down to these kind of things.
I
And we can
pray
take
for that
advantage,
day.
full advantage of everything.
I pray for that day. My latest tune, shameless plug, it actually deals with or touches on that a little bit. Um, but it's funny you mentioned some examples. The clearest and most frustrating example of that I feel is with the cannabis industry, with the
Oh
ganja
God, man.
industry. I left out my involvement over there.
Because we don't know if we can really talk about that. YouTube kind
But
of funny.
okay, all right, all
Yeah.
right, all right. We'll call it
No, you can we
we'll
can
call it
talk about it
agriculture.
in code. Put it, yes, exactly. The agriculture, the
We'll
planting
call it
Or
industry.
agriculture.
the
Right.
higher
So
consciousness.
agriculture.
Yeah.
In the agricultural industry in particular, it's frustrating to see how Jamaica has allowed itself to um once again fail to rise to the occasion. There's no other way for me to say that. And that is said as someone who was a huge lobbyist for the agriculture industry. Really saw it as an opportunity for Jamaica to get it right in ways that we had failed in music and film and other areas. I thought with this new agriculture thing being fresh, we would we'd get it right, and we already have the name brand around the
We have
world.
the reputation already, yeah.
The thing
Yeah.
seal is just to count the money now.
We just need
Um,
the product
Right?
and the laws.
and no, as you know what we just need, as we sing in our anthem, we just needed vision. We just actually needed a plan. It's the craziest thing. It's the first I've seen an industry start, and there was really no national plan for development. There was no national educational program. When they started the tourism industry, they had way more planning and supports and implements. They started this agriculture industry, and then it was just like, yeah, y'all on your own. And more than that, they started to immediately try to make our agricultural industry like an American agricultural industry, which was the opposite of what we needed. Like, as usual, we kept looking to foreign instead of just being
Yeah.
super Jamaican about the game, and we could have won. And we still can, but it just is a brilliant example of what you're saying. Like, how we don't recognize the greatness of who we are, and maybe some post-traumatic slave syndrome stuff, but I really hope that we do, because we have so much to win from: coffee, agriculture, music, film,
Yeah.
fashion. Like, we have a
Language
lot to
too.
benefit from. Hmm?
You know what? With the
Language
agriculture
too.
industry, yeah,
Language, art, fine art, language.
yeah. With the agriculture industry in Jamaica, many Jamaicans stigmatize it.
I think
Yeah.
that was the big problem.
Yeah, even to this
I
day.
think
So even if the government want to make a move, it's not in their political interest too, because there's a big percentage of the population that looks down on it.
So here is the question: do you know this is why I got involved in the agriculture industry?
Ah,
Because I
okay.
thought to myself, how I actually started, the first thing I started by doing was an educational series, a podcast or of sorts, called Cannabis, called Agriculture Conversations, where I was literally going around to different spaces talking about agriculture, bringing on doctors, bringing on agronomists, whatever, to speak to communities, to be like, this is what's happening. Because obviously, and I thought this would be obvious to the government too, you can't start an agriculture industry without education. because there has
Mm-hmm.
been such a huge stigma. You can't expect to just change the
A
thing
huge
around and not.
miseducation.
So I thought there was gonna be a huge educational push, and it just never happened. Up to when I moved to Italy, even though I had left Jamaica, I was still volunteering. The government had created an agriculture task force to see
Mhm.
how we could benefit from this agriculture, and I was still here in Italy on the Zoom chairing committee, blah blah blah, and we created a huge plan and consulted with three different ministers, and all no, nothing done
Mm.
with all the recommendations given from Rasta, from business, from everybody. There's a plan, but I don't know.
I really believe
Agriculture
that
does
stigma.
not get no forward.
Yeah, I really believe that stigma, the same one that tell you, your parents tell you when you grow up, don't touch this thing. Stay away from this thing. But then when you go to other places, you find out that Jamaica has a reputation for this. And as you say, when all of this started to come out, we should have just be able to open the money bag and just collect from day one because we already had the reputation. But what we didn't have were the steps in place to capitalize. We didn't create
And
our luck.
is you see with this agriculture industry, deep, it could have been the picking on a scab that we needed. If you
Yes,
follow me,
I believe so.
it could have been that unpacking and reinvestigation of who we are and how we got here that we needed.
Yeah.
And I'm really saddened that it didn't happen because why is it that we have so many youths are about them hand middle? What are they dealing with mentally? Why is
That
it
hap-
those kinds of queries, like, instead of just the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stigmatization, the unpacking that should have and could have gone along with it? That's the real missed opportunity. Plus the money.
yeah. Until they see it popular, it's gonna happen. I feel like it will eventually happen, but when it does happen, it won't be owned by Jamaicans.
And we'll be too
Nothing,
late to
no
the
say it.
party.
No, you know it go.
Don't
You
go
know
about.
it go. You know it
Don't
go.
go about the
It go
thing.
come to some big
No.
FDI or indirect investment, and then boom, our industry is not owned by
Jam.
us,
Just
but
like the
worked by
oil,
us, just like everything
the
else. That's
newfound,
what's
yeah.
gonna happen. It's gonna be some big lobby say, "Oh, why aren't we having the Jamaican brand on our product? Let me go there. It's a small country. Let me take over. Few $1 million there, few $1 million there, and the Jamaican farmers don't see anything from it."
So
Nope.
hold on. This is the example I didn't get through to completing, but you're hitting the nail on the head. So why I say the agriculture industry is the most frustrating one for me is because we go all around the world and we see the agriculture industry selling things branded by Jamaica, branded in brand Jamaica that have
Mm.
nothing to do with us. And not only do they have nothing to do with us, but it would be illegal for us to create those same products.
Yep.
So do you know that in
Yes.
Jamaica, one of my agriculture industry with our permits and everything, we could not sell any edibles, agriculture
Jesus.
edibles. It's illegal in Jamaica.
Mhm.
All edibles are illegal in Jamaica. I know your eyebrows are raised for good reason, but they're actually all illegal. I was a part of the committee that lobbied for it to be allowed. We spoke as an industry and said this is more healthy than other ways of agriculture. Um, but it wasn't accepted. But every
Uh,
store in Europe, you can go in and find edibles with Jamaica colors and flags, and
Mm. The
we're not
Rasta
even allowed
colors.
to be part of it legally.
Yeah.
And
and
also, not for nothing, the edibles industry is the one that most individual and poor people, if you want to categorize a people, could be a part of. Because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to have a whole field and estate to be a brownie producer.
true,
You know what I
true.
mean? So we're just backwards with what we doing with our thing. I'll
And
always go back to that. What we are doing.
and to go down to like a more micro or personal level, when you were lobbying for agriculture in Jamaica, were any stigmas attached with you? Did
A
anybody
hundred
attach any
percent.
labels to you?
100%. A
Closed
hundred
doors.
percent.
Yeah, anybody
What's that?
close doors on you because of this?
Um. Yes, but
Or is it just a side eye?
I think. All right. I think I'm happy. I have the phrase for it. It's a thing that come from actually from Rasta philosophy. I don't know if you've ever heard of the concept of class suicide.
Yes, Sheun Kuti always speaks about class Swiss. I know it.
I don't want to
Not for
say
Rasta,
it
but
was
yeah.
that. but it's a funny thing. You don't know when you're not invited anymore sometimes until
Ah,
you're not. You don't know.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think maybe if my personality were different, it would have been a lot more challenging. And I'm not going to say it wasn't challenging. Because definitely, apart from just the social, like I was a young person starting business. So even before the agriculture, I had stigma placed on me because I'm a politician's daughter. So I'm kind
Hmm.
of used to stigma, I guess is what I want to say. So it wasn't too much for me to go into the agriculture industry because by that point, again, I'd been fortunate enough to live in different places. Um, I had lived in what 4 different countries by then. I I don't, I don't really care. It's like, you know what I mean? People make for talk. People are gonna have opinions. That's what they're there for. But yeah, you just have to know who you are. But definitely, it's huge stigmas. And you know what is true though? I don't want to be hype about it. The fact that I am a politician's daughter, the fact that I was an attorney, I'm an attorney, the fact that I am a justice of the peace, the fact that I had done a significant amount of community work before that also made me feel like no, I believe in this industry. I
Hmm.
know that I will face stigma, but also nobody can try to style me too bad because like look at what I've done. Like clearly I'm not just a waste girl. Clearly I'm not just you know what I mean? Like if someone like me is willing to be associated with this, then maybe it's worth having
It
another look
means
at.
something. Yeah.
Was the hope.
yeah. But in
Yeah.
Jamaica, you don't know. No matter how successful you are, as soon as them find out say you indulge in the agriculture industry, entire concept and the perception of you change immediately.
Yeah,
Immediately.
I'm not as welcome uptown as I mean I grew up uptown, so it was my space, but I'm really not as welcome up there anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is the
But
reality.
and it all Tony, it always surprised me when someone asked me about, oh, you're Jamaican. How's the agriculture there? I was like, it's good. So you guys must do it all the time. I'm like, well, it's not what you think it is. It's not
Yeah.
the way you envision it, because they see it as a paradise to go there and do that.
And it's
Yeah.
just free,
It's
golden,
just free.
green
I
streets, green streets.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know how that perception still exists to this day, because
Reggae
that's not the
music.
reality.
Reggae
And
music,
when
that way.
see the
Sweet
feel
reggae music, my brother. What could be better?
Yeah.
the one that we need to go back. Joan, we're taking up a lot of your time. I have one more question. I think Tony, you have one more question as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if you have any questions for us, feel free to toss about as well. But my last question for you, um, what has been some of the toughest lessons you've learned while navigating both the creative and the legal world, especially as you try to, bring your visions to life?
The toughest lessons I would say are two of them maybe is to really not let perfection beat progress. It's a cliche for a
Mm.
real reason, but the more I learn and the higher up I go, if that is such a thing, is the more I realize that nobody knows what they're doing. There really is a lot of magic and power in making an effort, and the way will find you. You know what I mean? Like as you walk on the way finds you. That sort of thing. So I really encourage persons to not let their fear of not knowing every single step prevent you from moving forward with something, because that's been a challenge for me. Um and lesson communication, which is something that I still struggle with, you know what I mean? But the more, again, everything in life is about relationships and communication. And as Jamaicans, speaking in the creative industries, if I'm going to think of the single thing that breaks most things down is lack of communication. Whether you receiving a contract that you don't think is decent or right. So instead of having the communication, having a conversation, you walk away from the table, and it could have been an error. It could have been a misunderstanding. Or you get a contract and you're not sure how to respond and you don't know what to say, so you don't say anything and you never communicate anymore. Those are scenarios that happen way too often in our culture. So I think just having the capacity to communicate through difficult issues is a real life skill, you know. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. These are very challenging questions. I just want you to all know, like, you really have to think through this. This is
No,
not
just
what I
answer the
expect
way you
at all.
feel,
I'm
man.
like, Jano, just ask me
No,
about
you know,
So if you could tell me about the meaning of life,
the meaning of life, you
and then
know.
just
What?
leans back. That's
Yeah,
it.
you have to think about it. You have to think about the. Tony,
All
you
right.
have
Now,
a
how did
question
you
for
guys end
me?
up in Spain? This is a real question, though. How are both of you there?
So
And did
I
you meet
came.
there or from Jamaica?
So it's always a funny story when I tell people this. So I came here because I wanted to, go to a new country where I had to learn the language and learn the culture and whatever. I wanted to go to a Spanish speaking country. Spain was not my first choice. It was actually Colombia. So there's this
Okay.
teaching program that you can go to where you could teach high schools or primary schools. And here I wanted to go to Colombia. The Minister of Education, they closed that program for Colombia. So I
Mm.
did the next best thing and I came to Spain. I went directly to Madrid and I started teaching there. And then Madrid got too big for me. I went to a smaller town and I came to Murcia. And then when I came to Murcia, I met this guy, Davian. The way how we met was just, I don't know, a stroke of luck that night. I let him tell you the story. But just know that this guy, he's friends with my cousin. A lot of mutual we have a lot of mutual friends in Jamaica. We
Same
went to
high
the
school.
same high school, the same
What?
university. We live like make we say between 6 or 7 kilometers within each other. So we'd go to the
And it's
same bus stops, for
Morcia on the
example.
come back up.
Yep.
The universe is perfect.
It's
It happened
perfect.
when it was supposed to happen and not before.
It's
Yeah.
perfect. That's a beautiful story,
Yeah,
yo.
man.
So
So
how
Yeah.
you
yeah.
reaching a Morcia now, Davin?
Woman.
So I don't feel so bad. This man, I don't feel so bad
No, but I always say,
then.
yo, love brought me to Spain, but the love of Spain made me
Touch
stay
your
in
hair.
Spain.
True.
You know, and Spain is such a good country and such a bad country at the same time. But it's like you hate to love it, but you love it. There's just something about the way of life here that
Mm-hmm.
makes you wish, like, if I could take one thing from Jamaica, is how relaxed they are and how they go about life. They go about enjoying life and living life without worrying about all the stresses that life has to offer. They put living and family and all of those things first. Not saying that we don't do that in Jamaica,
Hmm.
but
No,
it is not prioritized. It's not prioritized. Our thing, we prioritize hustling and making money
And
and living a
enjoyment.
life. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that I feel like they live longer because of it. Also, culture is great, but it can be a downfall.
but what is life really worth? Yeah, no. It's one of the things I love about here, so too, to be honest, that especially that family thing that you said.
Mhm,
I know I say I live in the Jamaica of Italy, but it's really more the Saint Elizabeth of Italy. Like it's country.
mhm.
It's not Rome, it's and me and my husband plant a lot of food and stuff. And more time I'm like, Jano, I would love to be just chilling doing this in Jamaica, but the crime, I feel like somebody might be trying to rob my place, or I feel like I would need to have bars around my place, definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that is something that is real or we've all accepted. Like, how did we get here? Why? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we got here as a nation because I feel like we're beautiful people and we're really warm and I know we're good to people. So I don't understand
No.
I
I
guess it's the
personally,
pressure cooker thing.
yeah, I personally believe that every human is inherently good. I know that's a bit probably naive to assume that, but
No, I'm with you.
on a Jamaican point of view, I think that every Jamaican is good. It's just that the situation, that the cards that they're dealt leads
Yeah.
to certain actions that aren't necessarily Jamaican. I don't think when a Jamaican actually wants to fight somebody when somebody step on them clocks in our dance. But
It's
Oh.
just
there's
the
the
stress we're
social
under all the time.
the
Yeah.
stress and the social pressure to react a certain way make we feel like we have to do it. Have you ever gotten that vibe? Like when you're overseas, it's like you act differently. There's a
Different.
different, like
Confirm.
somebody step on a brand new Air Force in our club. I'm gonna say, yo, there's two reactions. There's the visceral Jamaican reaction, and then they're like, wait, I don't have to do this. Like, why am I having these thoughts? What? It's just a freaking pair of shoes, you know?
Can I ask you guys? Hold on. Can I ask you guys? I don't know if you see this in Spain. So Italian people are nice, but Italian people are nicer to Italians, I think, than foreigners.
Oh yeah, big image.
But
The way
Jamaicans,
The-
I'm not sure if we're
it-
nicer to Jamaicans than foreigners. And I mean,
and
I'm
yeah,
stereotyping.
no,
You
no,
Jamaicans
no,
are nicer to foreigners. Foreigners are we
That's what I'm
idolize
saying,
foreign.
yeah.
Foreign.
right?
Remember, we used to think foreign was in the sky, you know. So they're
So
heaven. Foreign is heaven, you know. You never
yeah,
remember that when you used to grow up
A little
and
bit like
you say,
paradise. Yeah.
yeah, foreign is
Big
paradise. So
foreign
we
or
see
little
anyone,
foreign.
anybody from foreign, we already we hold them to a high pedestal. This is where we need to go. This is what we should be. We
Yeah.
don't have that same stress.
And
But
as I
as you
said,
say,
that is that same attitude that linked to us getting it wrong in the agriculture industry. When we came in it,
mhm,
instead of being like, all right, guys, Jamaica's here, this is how you do it, we came in and said, oh, Canada, what you guys doing? America, what you guys doing? We can follow you guys
we didn't
instead
sit
of
down
coming
on
in like
business.
Jamaica's in the building. Come on, guys.
Yeah, we didn't
uh,
come for business,
but when
but
Uncle Sam come, Uncle Sam
business.
know no better than Jan will tell you the same thing 10 years ago.
Remember,
Yeah,
Uncle Sam mashed down our agriculture before Uncle Sam free up the agriculture.
long time
Never
Exactly.
ago.
forget.
Yes. Hmm.
So
Exactly.
But
I just think, sorry, if I could say one more thing, I love what you guys are doing. First of all, I wanted to make sure to drop it in there in terms of putting out the energy to consistently connect with people and have conversations like this, like and critically think about our culture, like reflecting on us is a huge thing. One more thing I wanted to say about Italy and Europe, like lessons that we can learn for our culture. I look on the way that they have content quotas and protections for their culture that come from their language inherently. And I think that's something that Jamaica really needs to look into. It might sound silly, but with the way migration is and with the way gentrification and all these other things are, I feel like we need to really make a concentrated efforts to make sure that our content and Jamaican made stories and Jamaican cultural stuff is protected.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, great job doing it, guys. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. We'll try. We'll keep it up. It's been hard, but we're pushing through.
I know.
And with this podcast, I want people to learn more about what happens outside of Jamaica, because a lot of Jamaicans don't get to leave Jamaica, which I think is a problem because they live in a bubble and they don't understand that there's an entire world outside there, and not one world. Every country has their different world and different positives, and many Jamaicans don't get the opportunity to travel like we do.
Yeah, yeah.
And one thing, traveling has opened up my mind so much to the realities of this world that I'm like, wow, I want to take this from Italy. I want to take this from Spain. I want to take this from the US. I want to take this from the UK. I want to put it in Jamaica so Jamaica can be the best.
You're. I. It's why I resonated, and I'm serious and genuine when I say I love what you're doing, because it's an idea. You heard me speak about travel and freedom of movement. I'm right there with to me, is one of the single greatest thing for human development. Travel. And so I actually thought to myself, I would love to go around and go to all of the reggae festivals in Europe or just all the reggae festivals around the world to show Jamaica what we
yeah,
created. Because if you don't go, you don't know. You guys are in Spain, so you have Rotterdam. I've been there. And when you see something like that and recognize that foreigners have built a 7-day enterprise that's a monolith that kind of has nothing to do with Jamaica right now, anyway, off of something that we created. And again, I don't have a problem with that. But what are we doing? Like, wake up, guys. It was great to see Dream Weekend come to Malta. That's a boss move, and I'm excited to see what the next decade is going to bring in terms of how the new generation of Jamaicans who are out there in the world are going to really use our culture.
Let's hope. Let's hope. But Joan, thank you so
Exciting.
much.
thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much
Enough
for
respect.
joining us today. It's very enlightening conversation. I love these conversations personally because I learn a
Yeah,
lot from them. And when I learn more, then I can share more on the podcast as well. But thank you so much.
Hang on, before I go, I want to invite you guys. It may not be for this year if you can't make it,
Mhm.
but every Emancipendence, hang on, we're in the middle of
You have
working,
for the
right?
calendar.
Every Emancipation,
Jam it.
every first week of August, there's gonna be a celebration of Jamaican culture. So, on just around the
Mm.
corner, come over. If it's not this year, come next year. And
Thanks for
yeah,
the invite.
hold a space with
Yeah,
family, be
man.
on some nice beaches. I know you have that too in Spain, but I'm sure.
Still not as good as
Thank
the
you.
Jamaican ones.
Damien,
But
let's talk off air. Let's talk off air.
all right. Don't worry, we can edit out that part. All right. But thank you so much for joining us. And guys, remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow Joan. If you're in Italy and you're a Jamaican, she's the woman that you should link up with.
At Jam It Fest, at Jam It
There you
Fest,
go.
or at
Jam it
Justice
fest.
Stone. Give thanks, Yard Man
Yeah,
Podcast.
man.
Real nice,
Much
yo.
blessing. And that was it. We out.
And
Blessings.
we out. Yardman Podcast, I do one. The Yardman Podcast. Tell you about the Yardman Podcast. The Yardman Podcast. Tell you about the Yardman Podcast. The Yardman Podcast. Tell you about the Yardman Podcast. The Yardman Podcast. Tell you about the Yardman Podcast.
Subscribe now. We out.